Welcome, everyone. This is the Predictive Playbook. This is a special edition, Monday through Friday at usually 4 o'clock. Today we're running a little bit behind. It's one of those days where you do get so far behind you think you're first. Now, I'll let you think about that little statement there for a while. But this is Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. And I'm your host, John Ryan, of course, and I have Jesse Scholl on with me. At my discretion, I'm going to do the PGA a little bit later in the show. I believe Dr. Chuck is going to join us. Sometimes it's hit or miss, and it's understandable this time of year with everybody that's involved with the show. Tony Mejia, Rob Vino, Tony Finn will try to get on roughly in about 15, 20 minutes. But before we get those guys into the show, I wanted to have Jesse. He has a tremendous Canadian Football League record, and he has a strategy and some angles that are really, really good, and you really should get your paper and pencil out right now and write these things down, because this is coming from a veteran professional sports bettor, not somebody who just makes picks. This guy, just like all of us, we actually put up the green and white paper, right? Cotton stuff with guys' pictures on it and stuff that we all know. So anyway, welcome to the show, Jesse. It's the second time for us. No, you were on yesterday. Boy, oh boy, when it gets 4 o'clock here, I'm fried. But our college football show, folks, if you haven't watched it, it's been we're very pleased that it's gaining a lot of traction. There is an NFL show, too, that's surprisingly behind the college football one. We would have thought the NFL would have been more popular, but we are 31-10 against the spread for 76% winning bets over the last several weeks on the college football show. And that is on the Predictive Playbook, which can be found at YouTube channel Sports Memo TV. That's all you have to search for. And it'll pop right up, and I think you'll see, fast hitting. We did 5 college football picks in 12 minutes. Exactly 12 minutes. We did 5 picks. And they're all free. And we're 31-10. So what more should I say, Jesse? You can't lead the horse to water and make him do something. I forget what it is. But
you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink.
Yeah, well, Tony Finn would have an hour dialogue discussing that you could lead me to a bar. I might do Quaaludes. It doesn't mean I'm going to drink. You can hear him now. And I hope he's listening. Anyway, let's get into CFL here, because there is a third, gridiron sport that is sometimes our focus is on the NFL and college football. And many times these opportunities in CFL go unnoticed because we don't spend time studying them enough. And I'm sure there's times where there's tremendous value and the market does not react to it because not enough people have eyes on it. So the floor is yours, Jesse. Tell us about this CFL stuff.
Well, first of all, for you people that think you have no interest in CFL, let me just tell you this. CFL normally starts in the middle of the summer. So when there's no college football and no NFL, you might be a little bit more interested. Right now, in the middle of college football season, NFL season, maybe it's not a hot seller, but you get to know the sport, you pay attention to the lines, and that'll put you in a position to have a football game to bet on in the middle of summer in June and July next year. We didn't have CFL last year because of the pandemic, and that's caused an upending in the league, some strange happenings, really. Mostly injuries and low-scoring games. And the low-scoring games are probably a result of a lot of the injuries. Like I said, they didn't play last year. They were really last-minute announcing the beginning of this season, so they didn't really have time to do proper training camps. And right out of the gate, there was a ton of injuries, especially to key offensive players, including quarterbacks. I'm looking at it now, and only 2 teams have had their starting quarterback in every game they've played.
Wow.
And, of course, one of those 2 teams is the best team in the league, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And the other team that has had their quarterback healthy for the whole season is second to Winnipeg in the Western Conference. Not a surprise there. So what's going on here is a lot of backup quarterbacks, a lot of you know running backs, wide receivers out of the lineup. It's been low scoring games for the first half of the season, and the bookmakers have come with lower and lower totals. For those of you who don't know anything about the CFL, it's typically a high scoring league. They don't have four downs, they only have three downs up north, but and you might think that would make it lower scoring, but it does the opposite. The incentive is to pass rather than run, since you only have your three downs to get a first down. And we typically see totals in the 50s, in the mid to high 50s for CFL games. But this year, we're seeing totals in the low 40s almost every week for every game. And what I'm saying is, what I'm anticipating is some of the quarterbacks are coming back. So you have players like Mike Riley, who was banged up the first couple weeks, and Bo Levi Mitchell for Calgary. Both of those guys are Grey Cup champions, both league MVPs, tons of accolades there. They're both back and healthy for their respective teams, BC and Calgary. And you have other teams like Montreal and Ottawa that have had time to adjust. They've had time to bring in younger quarterbacks. These guys have had playing time now. They're no longer rookies thrown into the fire, and their offenses should show improvement. And I'm expecting an uptick in scoring, and I'm expecting to be able to take advantage of an overcorrection from the bookmakers with these low totals. And I did just that last week with my biggest play of the week was on the over 44 points in the Calgary BC game. I mentioned those two quarterbacks, Mike Riley and Bo Levi Mitchell, both, highly touted quarterbacks. And that game did go over. It landed on 49, and Calgary did the majority of the scoring. But this week, I'm seeing, again, a bunch of totals all under 50 in the low 40s. And I think there's value in just blanketing, taking the over for the next few weeks.
It makes total sense to me. Now, do you use, how would you, for the listeners, how would you recommend or guide them to figuring out which game among the 2, 3, or 4 that are spread out on any given day during the week? How would you identify the one that has really good value? Or would you just bet the over possibly in smaller amounts across the board?
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying is I think that I'm trying to simplify it to the point where I'm saying there's 4 games this week. I think at least 3 of those 4 games could go over.
I got you.
And maybe even all 4. I think all the totals are just too low. Now, if you want to isolate games, I guess what I would do is I would look at the past history, head-to-head matchups. I would look at the quarterbacks that are starting, where they're at health-wise, where they're at statistically. Interestingly enough, the highest total of the week involves 2 teams that don't have great quarterbacks and are playing backup quarterbacks. However, they also don't have great defenses, hence the larger total. So I do have one game in mind, but I prefer not to give it out. I prefer to charge $20 or $25 for that one.
And that's peanuts for what you get. You just heard him say that the over is the play basically across the board, but there's one that really sticks out, and to get the one that really is attractive and stronger than the other ones, you pay $20 or $25 for it, guys. I mean, you invest in yourself, and you have a guy like Jesse Scholl working for you. It doesn't get much better, I'll tell you that, especially for CFL. Now, I guess we'll segue into baseball. My all access clients, unfortunately, I don't get hardly any messages when things are going awry. I'm kind of proud of that. It's more of when like Texas A&M is beating Alabama that I get my phone blowing up. But I was surprised last night because I was completely off with Walker Buehler. He did not have a good night. But then in the 8th inning, I swear to you, you could feel it. And I actually can show you in-game bet that I did, the Dodgers plus 230, which I did in the sixth inning. It was bottom of the sixth. There was one guy on. No, there was nobody on. 2 outs. And I figured that was going to be about the max should the Dodgers come back. And at that point, it was 4-2. It was 2-0, and then 4 straight, and then it was 5. And when that happened, I was like, oh man. But I also noticed, and I got to say, I'm not crying sour grapes because the play won. But why did they put LA in those games with any chance that the sun in right field was going to be an issue? And I know that happened to the Dodger outfielder, and the sun caused him to drop the ball. If the sun's not glaring, right into his eyes, I think it's reasonable to say that he made that catch, because that could have happened to the Braves as well. And I was just kind of like perplexed, why did Major League Baseball do this? And then I saw today they switched the early game and put the Dodgers second, and I think then it reverts back to the sun being a problem on tomorrow's game. But that's a historic comeback. I mean, it's never happened. And of all guys to do it, Tony Finn's and Rob Vino's hero, Cody Bellinger, proving that he did deserve that MVP award two years ago. I don't know. Did you watch the game at all?
I was more interested in the Red Sox game yesterday.
Yeah, and that one was not. I didn't have a play on it, but I thought the Red Sox would win. But now it's Game 5, tied 2-2, and Chris Sale on the hill tonight, or now I should say. Well, coming up 5:08, so about 30 minutes. But Julio has been off the charts. I think his ERA now the last 3 is like 1.2. Now, was there a pitching change for the Braves?
I hadn't seen them announce one earlier, and now I see they got.
I have Huascar. That is interesting.
I question how deep Julio will go, though. I mean, does he typically go 4 or 5 innings, and then, is he going to go 7 innings? I'm not sure about that.
Well, he's faced the Braves 3 times in his career, his young career. 2.25 ERA, 0.938 WHIP. Gave up 2 earned runs in his last start on August the 30th. In June 4th of this season, he gave up 1, went 5 innings, to your point, and defeated Ian Anderson. And then in 2020, October, obviously the playoffs, at Atlanta, they won 15-3. And there again, he went 5 innings, 1 earned run, 3 hits, 1 homer, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He has given up 4 homers in these 3 starts against the Braves, spanning 16 innings, so that is a little bit concerning. We got to see if this is true, because Huascar has pitched 1 inning, I believe, the entire year. And I haven't looked at this game since this morning, obviously. I wonder if anybody in the chat room can confirm who the starter is. Because that sounds like that almost sounds like a rookie. One inning pitch for the whole year is what I'm seeing. Well, we're on the topic. Why don't I just...
All I know is I don't want to lay 2-1 on a guy that's only going to go 5 innings. As much as I'm not afraid to bet favorites, but I can't see back in the Dodgers today with a guy that's only going to go 5 innings.
I rarely lay 175 money line like I did last night with the Dodgers, and I was fortunate, very fortunate. So were my clients fortunate that game actually won. And in hindsight, I'm glad that I stuck to the models and didn't, do the home run line, which Tony Finn would have had a fit. And we can't do -1.5 home run lines for a reason. We shouldn't do it. And out of respect to Tony Finn, we shouldn't gloat when we win one either. But the road +1.5 may be attractive for this game tonight, taking the Braves, because the line is like 210, and the spread, Jesse, between the money line and the -1.5 run line is wider than I've seen it in many, many years. It used to be about 60, what I call pips, and that comes from my foreign exchange trading. PIP is an 01 in foreign exchange land. And with the betting, it's similar. You're paying VIG of -210, but you can take the -1.5 run line. I saw this around 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It was -105 at Penny. And I kind of did a double take and thought, well, maybe it isn't foolish taking the home favorite here. But the momentum that the Dodgers have now, if you told me it was 8-2 tonight, Dodgers, I would not be surprised. Not be surprised in the least.
I'd tend to go with the plus runs in this one. I think that's the best value on the board for me.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. It always is, and anybody who's new in the chat room that has never, or is just learning betting, it's hard to take that +1.5 because it's intuitively you want to take the favorite. Look at college football and the NFL. The public is enamored with favorites, generally speaking, and then when they become enamored with a dog, like the San Diego Chargers last week, look what happened. That's the most powerful public fade, in my opinion, is the NFL dog that the public loves. It's only one time a year the public loves dogs more than favorites, and that's called the tournament. And that's where you do get a hell of a lot of surprising upsets. But look who came by to say hello, Mr. Finn, formerly Effin' Tony.
Yeah, I don't know who's watching, so you never know. Change it up a little bit, keep them guessing.
Now your new name, Finn, is that French? Finna Wager Talk? Is that Wager's middle name? So Finna, am I pronouncing that right? Is it French Canadian maybe?
No. It's AT. It's French. The AT stands for amateur tout.
You have a brilliant mind, Mr. Finn. You really do. You're quick with the wit.
That's what all the CEOs tell me. Boy, Tony, you got a brilliant mind. What are you doing? Why are you wasting your life?
You're gambling your life away, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't think so. But we were talking about leading a horse to water, and then you can't make him drink.
No, you can.
And we were wondering what you thought of that. I guess that's a proverb, right? Is that a proverb? Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
I think it's more like you can teach a man to fish. You should teach a man to fish, so he does, so you don't have to give it. But you can teach all the men you want to fish. They still got to want to fish.
Oh, that's true. So we were talking about Jesse's CFL is awesome for many, many years.
Really?
And we were just talking about the totals and the over, and basically a blanket statement across the board that the totals are so undervalued.
Is that the Cowgirls Football League CFL? I wasn't sure if that's
Well, you would be studying it if it was. You would know everything there is to know about it.
Yeah, because that doesn't matter what kind of girl you are. You're right. I'll take a look.
But seriously, Jesse has like a 5%er going on a CFL total coming up in the next week. He's charging a measly $20 for it. So I was saying, our show on Sports Memo TV, we're 31-10 in college football and NFL.
Can I borrow
76%.
Can I borrow a measly $20 then? Since it's just measly to you.
Measly.
You know, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids. Well,
that you know of.
I'm quite positive. Well, I'm not. I mean, I've been married for 27 years, so, and I haven't been able to. You know, I've been. Well, long story short is I'm not certain that some of my kids are my kids. They're smarter than me, better looking than me. They could be. You know, when they quit, if she stopped having kids, as soon as they quit putting bottles of milk on my doorstep.
Don't you have a pool boy, Tony?
I do, but he's gay.
Well, you know. So you're ruling him out, huh?
I'm not. No, well, I shouldn't probably, but you know, I've been unless I've been sold a bill of goods, I think it's all good there. Anyway,
What'd you think of?
Who are we trying to impress? I mean, you guys are still young, good-looking gentlemen. I'm way past.
I'm not that young.
Trying to impress anybody.
I'm not that young.
Well,
I don't agree with you about the looks, but you know, if you say so, I'll accept it, I guess.
Do it.
But seriously, I'm so glad you came on the show because I mean, Davey Roberts is going to get manager of the playoff season. Wasn't he brilliant? How he set up that 3-run homer?
Well, I have a lot to say about that. We don't have enough time on the show. I wrote about it, and the problem was last night wasn't Davey. Davey did everything he could. He already basically blighted the whatever pitching staff they had left. I did some you know, math, 1 + 1, that kind of stuff that I can do, and they had Jansen's pitched in every game. Tonight, if he goes tonight, it will be his 4th appearance in 6 nights and his 2nd or 3rd straight, right? This will be the 3rd. This would be the 3rd straight. They played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Yes.
Yep.
So, but here's the deal: the team. Here's what I just don't get, and that is yesterday there was a situation where I know first base wasn't open, but he was not. He's the one guy in that lineup. I don't care if he's hitting 150 on the season.
Right.
He's the one guy that every single pitch should have been down and away. And if he's going to beat you, he's going to beat you in left field, where you're probably the guy from second base may not even score if and he hits the ball hard. And you don't get a lot of bloopers, you know. And the thing was, that last pitch was a mistake pitch. He didn't want to put it eye level, at a 97 mile an hour fastball at eye level. When he swung it, before he even swung the bat, I saw it coming in. I said, guess what? Atlanta had a chance, 5 outs from being 3-0 in that series. To now
you bring up a good point.
Dead
it was a bad location for sure.
I promise you, I'm not going to step out. I usually don't step out unless I know that my gut feeling isn't gas. And this isn't gas, my gut feeling. My gut feeling is that this team is dead in the water. Whatever momentum, whatever adrenaline they had, because this team's tired. This Atlanta team.
Yep.
They're tired. They've been fighting with Philadelphia and New York, and we know the animals that the Phillies and the Mets are, so they have to be tired.
Yeah, they're excellent teams.
When you just can't let, to your point, Tony, you can't let that's the one guy you can't let him get his groove back.
Absolutely not. And it was it's deja Bobby Cox all over again. Yeah. 25,000 division titles and 1 World Series. This one for Davey
he would have been throwing bats.
He was one game. He was one game from having his 9th straight or 10th straight division title in the West there, and they had 1 championship. And that should have an asterisk because it came in a shortened COVID season with traditional baseball thrown out the effing window. The extra innings and. It's an asterisk season. So poor Davey, again, his contract's up at the end of next year. And from the guys I know, I have a friend here who's who really has good connections with. Like when I saw him last, I went to see him. He was on the phone with Dan Fouts because his niece is married to Fouts, and he's big LA Dodger fan, season ticket holder. And knows like his nephew right now. His nephew is the manager at Midland, which is the AA club for the A's. And he's hoping that here in Vegas that we go ahead and pick up the A's because that he believes that they'll make his nephew the manager. So he wants to, have nice seats, tickets. I tell him all the time. I tell him we call him the commish. I say, commish, you have plenty of money to buy yourself some tickets. And he says, that's not any fun. That's what he said. So there you go. But he said Dave Robertson will not. They won't. The players love him, John. The players love him, and there's a couple of reasons why they wouldn't. His success, and while they do have a person of color in that front office, it's something they're very careful about right now in Major League Baseball. Is how do you fire a manager that's won 10 straight division titles? I'll tell you how, because he's won them. The talent on that team alone has trumped any deficiencies or liability that he is, in my opinion.
I can't disagree. Do you know what I noticed?
Why is it that the doctor comes in, says hello, then just leaves?
Because somebody needs a COVID shot.
Somebody needs a Quaalude, and that would be
no COVID shot.
Me, a COVID shot. Oh, I'm in line too. Give me another one. I want another one.
Oh, you're supposed to get a booster now, I guess. I'm due. Last I heard.
I'm not. I'm in that. We live in. They do it by. They give you boosters, but not by age or risk factors, by demographic. And since I live in the ghetto, we're last on the list. I don't live in Canada. I don't live in a highfalutin Canadian province. I'm down here in the ghetto.
I don't think there's much pollution in Canada. You said high pollution in Canada. I don't think that exists.
Well, pollutant. Same. Tomato. All right, let's talk sports instead of tomatoes.
Okay, so I've been on a consistent tear that boo-hoo, woe is me, the Dodgers got screwed. All right, so they came in second with 106 wins. They had to play one game. Then they get the award for winning that game and playing their division rival and the best team in baseball, the Giants. They overcome that.
Right.
And now they have 3 consecutive home games, which is normal, with no rest. But I asked Jesse, and we were both dumbfounded. Like, I forget the outfielder who dropped the ball. I don't really know. His name's not important. The reason he dropped the ball is because the sun was right in his eyes in right center field. Major League Baseball should know that, and why would they let the sun determine a game? That could have happened to the Braves. It could have happened to any of them.
I missed something. What happened?
The outfielder it hit his glove. I believe it was a center fielder, actually. It hit his glove and then popped out because of the sun, clearly.
Okay. Why listen, I will say this. Why does Major League Baseball let that happen? Because for years and years, there's several fields in Dodger Stadium or Chavez Ravine is one of those stadiums where a twilight game, the advantage there's a bunch of reflections, a bunch of shadows, a lot of reflections. Where a guy like myself took advantage of, especially if I knew the umpire, maybe first fives, but. That's part of the mystique, isn't it? Of having home field advantage and knowing where the dead spots are on the hardwood and where the sun. What you have to do on certain balls, catch a certain airstream or jet stream, and will move on you. Or if you have a dome and you have like rafters where the ball gets stuck on, you have to before the guy gets to home, you have to climb all the way up to the room, grab the ball, climb all the way back down, and throw him out at home. Tough to do. Jesse.
But now tonight the Dodgers are the late game.
Yes. But that's a twilight game.
But that's going to favor the pitchers in the beginning.
Yes, it is.
Because you'll see the shadow. Yes, the pitcher will be in bright sunshine.
Start. Yep. 5:00 start, and on the farthest, right on the basically not very far from the Pacific. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's not going to be any picnic either.
No. I like the under. I like the under in that game.
Under first 5 too makes sense to me.
Well, I like the under because of the umpire. I'm not a big first 5. I'm not like the rest, but if you can't trust the final 4, the bullpens of the Final Four teams in Major League Baseball, what does it come? What would it come to?
Yeah.
You catch the Red Sox game last night?
Something that was, if you watch it, I mean, those things happen. That's a bad beat, but I will say this: that
was bad.
can happen to you. That can happen to you, but guess what? It's rare. It's one of those. I should have been on that game because those kind of things happen to me, Jesse. Yes, they happen to me, and they've happened a couple times this year. I don't remember all of us. It's so much easier, pain. The pain is a much easier thing to remember than joy or jubilance. So when we benefit from those kind of things, we deserved it. When we get beat by one of those things, God has said, listen, you didn't live right today, and this is what happens when you don't live right. And that's just you have to accept those things, right? I don't complain too much about bad beats. That's a bad beat. Whoever was on that under last night, my condolences. Were you on the under, Jesse?
No.
Yeah. Once it got to, let me put it this way: in the ninth inning, if you get to a point where there's a 5-run, a 4 or 5-run separation, that's when you do lose those, because what happens is the team, especially in this situation, Jesse, the team that is pitching and losing says, you know what, I'm not using another pitch out of this part of my bullpen. And so the very tail, the back end, the guy that carries the Gatorade and cleans the spittoons out that's the guy that's pitching.
But last night's game was 2-2 in the top of the ninth, right? And then they pushed it over in just in one half of an inning.
But yeah, what I'm saying, seven runs, top of the ninth. But what I'm saying is when that game got to be, and the total in that game was 10. When that game got to be, for instance, let's say it got to be 6-2, okay? That's when Boston said. That's when they said, "Listen, we're not going to throw. We're not putting Mariano out there anymore. I'm being hypothetical. They're going to put the guy that they're just not going to use up their top end bullpen arms when it's 6-2, unless you're a lot more optimistic.
I think it's potentially emotional more than
I would
calculated. Like, I mean, it's a 2-2 game in the top of the ninth. You give up that go-ahead. Once you've given them the lead, then it's like the emotional floodgates.
I like the under. I agree with you. I like the under in that game too. The ball's not traveling. First off, Boston's not hitting grand slams again. How many grand slams can you hit in 1 week before you've used up all your, get out of grand slam?
I didn't know there was a limit.
Parts. Are there? Huh?
I didn't know there was a limit. There's a rule.
Well, there is in my orbit. There better damn be, unless my team's one hitting the damn grand slam.
The commissioners sent them a memo: no more grand slams.
It's something like that. You send it to Rawlings and say, listen, the balls you're shipping to Fenway tonight, you know which ones I'm talking about. Do it. That kind of thing.
I think internet karma is going to cause Boston to get another grand slam tonight, just because you said they've used them all up.
Oh, it's a damn good thing I'm not on. Oh, I am on that. You're right. Let's take that. Let's reverse this. Let's edit over. I believe you.
I thought it was funny that the odds of a grand slam in the Braves Dodgers game was 8-1, which is, I mean, that's not the right price anyway. It's more like 16-1. But anyway, the market was 8-1. And then what do you think it was in the Boston game?
3-1.
5-1. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this. I think that the games, as far as the umpires, the umpiring, and the teams, let's put it this way, their skill set, etc. I think that most of this is played to form, except for maybe, and I wouldn't say it's not played to form. In truth, Dave Roberts has really done a job to that pitching staff, which is deeper than. But I did the math last night. I was telling before Rob got on. Rob, I did the math last night, and my goodness, Jansen's pitched in every game. You got a starter tonight that just pitched a couple 3 innings 2 nights ago, and so he's absolutely destroyed any continuity, any routine. It's gone out the window. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. In fact, we no longer see 7 innings by a starter and 2 innings by a bullpen. Not in postseason play. Not anymore. Those are the last pitcher to throw a complete game in postseason was Verlander, I think, in about 17.
Yeah.
And that may be
that is correct.
The year he left Detroit or got the trade deadline, went to Houston. And I think that's the year they played the Dodgers in the World Series, right? Yes.
Yeah, it was 18 was Washington. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the last time you saw a complete game. It may be in my opinion, it's probably the last time you ever see a complete game until something changes about pitch counts and such. Hell, we don't see a whole lot of those. We don't see a whole lot of complete games in the regular slate anymore. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. Maybe I'm stepping outside the truth there, but I don't remember too many complete games this year. I don't know about you guys. Not very many.
They don't happen. I mean, if you could take Blake Snell out of that game he was throwing against the Dodgers last year, you could take anybody out at any time.
That's Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay would, they're pretty. They're not just metrically driven. They may be starting to implant some chips and stuff into their skin there in Tampa Bay because if it says the math says do this, they do it.
Yeah, to your point about Julio Urias the other night, I mean, Dave Roberts knew that he was going to be his Game 4 starter, and he still warmed him up and sent him out there to throw 14 pitches. There were options that he could have used. I don't think he used Joe Kelly in that game. I mean,
yeah, he did. Kelly's pitched Kelly's pitched in every game. He's pitched in 3 out of the 4. The last 2, Kelly's pitched in, I think.
Yeah, you're right. He went Vesia, Kelly, Trinan, Urias, Gratterall.
I did all the like I said,
I don't even know who the missing guy is. But to your point, he's disrupted that entire rotation. Max Scherzer wound up going on short rest to the point where he was willing to give up the ball after 76 pitches. Now, I think Urias will throw well, but he's only going to throw 5 innings, and you're going to have to go back to all those guys.
And I'm telling you, if Atlanta has 1 ounce of savvy, then they are working pitchers because the guys you want to get to. I mean, Urias isn't the guy. Listen, Urias had a pretty good year. He's been pretty successful. However, we don't know. Urias is still fairly young. A lot of unknowns, a lot more questions still about Urias and what makes him better or what routine's going to make him the most successful. Those questions I don't think have been answered, to your point, Rob. And here's the deal. I don't think here's the deal. The commission, I was telling these guys about a buddy of mine. I think I've told you the story too.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he doesn't believe Dave Roberts does much of anything other than babysit the players. He thinks all the lineups, and this guy's savvy, smart guy, knows baseball. I love talking to him because we can talk baseball forever, and I listen. But he doesn't believe Dave Roberts does lineups. He thinks it's all that their front office now is so metrically driven that those lineups are generated, and he's not even certain he has the right to override the lineup that comes to him. So he thinks.
Well, how much fun can that be? Well, I guess if you're getting a big paycheck like that, and you're essentially watching a game from the dugout.
$6 million.
I'd do it. Yeah. I would do it.
Yeah. Dave. I don't think. I mean, Dave is. Plus, he likes the players. He likes baseball, and I don't think he has one issue. I don't think he cares that you, me, Rob, and Jesse are talking about him, whether we talk good or whether we talk critically. I don't think he cares. Have you seen him? I don't think he cares one bit. When he's that game again. We said last night, Rob, that I thought Atlanta really was the one that should not have been. They didn't have first base open, but that's the one guy I'm not pitching to in that lineup right now. He's hit 150 on the season, and he's the one guy that could take you deep right then. You had 2 guys after that weren't going to probably take you deep. So I felt like that was a mistake on Atlanta's part. A 3-run lead. So what? You put him on. You load the bases. you do a lot of good things can happen when you load the bases, first and second, even when you push them second and third. The winning run's still at the plate. Tying runs all the way at first base. I don't necessarily hear that. That old adage, baseball adage. You don't put the tying run on. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
any strategy goes now, Tone.
Yeah, I saw them. Listen, I saw them walk Barry Bonds with the bases loaded.
Right.
So, forcing a run into the game so they didn't have to pitch to him. And guess what? It worked.
I have I'll make it a quick story because I don't want to bore you to death. It's not as boring as golf, but my son was on 2 state championship teams. The first one was when he was in 9th grade and playing in Altoona.
Altoona.
Yep, Altoona.
That's where Altoona
The Altoona.
From,
their team name is the Altoona Curve.
Yeah.
And they have a roller coaster out there by left field and center field, and
that's where I want to sit.
I don't think they have the championship games there, but they have Pennsylvania, A, Double A, Triple A, Quad A.
Alcohol on the Ferris wheel out there, because they do here.
I would think in Altoona, that's pretty close to Reading, relatively speaking. That's where Yuengling is located, the country's oldest brewery.
Okay. Wow. We're getting these names. I can't pronounce these names.
But that's not what I wanted to tell you. The kid on his team was a senior, and he had a full ride to Louisville.
Right.
He gets incredibly hot. He was a switch hitter. And as I always say to you guys, you always hear the stories from the dads in his third hand. Oh, you got to see this kid hit. He's hitting 450-foot homers.
Yeah.
So I attended one of the games, and he hit one where I was going, oh, my God, somebody did tell me the truth. Just the pop off the bat from both sides was ridiculous.
Damn aluminum bats.
Well, yeah, that helped, but still. I mean, clearly it helped.
Yeah.
So they get into the final, and if you've ever seen the movie The Final Season, which is about an Iowa baseball team, and they are going to merge with another school, and it's the end of their I forget what the name of the school is now, but anyway, his team watched this movie, and in the final, they were going for their 20th state title. It came down to the same scenario that they saw. So they were going up against a kid from Erie Cathedral Prep, throwing 92, 93 on the board. Even if it was 90, that's fast for high school. I mean, that's coming in there pretty quick. So they're down to 2 outs. They're losing 2-1. They get a walk. Okay, the next guy. Yeah, the next guy. That was the leadoff batter. He gets a walk. The number 2 hitter gets hit by the pitch. First and second, 2 outs. They threw one pitch to this kid. His name is Ryan Seas. He was 13 out of 13 for the state tournament. Yeah. And this guy, from Erie, walked him. They threw one pitch and then intentionally walked him. Loaded the bases, 2 outs. And the cleanup hitter had, the first 2 pitches, he wasn't even close. It was like Bellinger, but I did say after Bellinger's pitch last night, that was the worst pitch they could have thrown him. And then come back inside, up and in like that. He's the only left-hander that can hit that high pitch. But anyway, we get a ground ball right inside the third base bag, score 2 runs. You go from thinking, well, it was a pretty good season to get this far, to thinking, oh my God, they just won it. So that coach was fired for walking C's in that situation.
Well,
high school.
Yeah, well, if you're winning 20 state championships, the equivalent, I mean, all you have to do is go to Texas. And high school football coaches in Texas, it's pretty serious crap.
Yeah, and it's probably way over the top.
In my opinion, for high school, So.
Yeah, way over the top, I would say. Friday Night Lights is Friday Night Lights, but
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for letting me tell you that little life story of mine.
I like it.
Yeah, that was That was crazy. But to your point, I think as all the games I've ever managed, you want, if it's their best guy, you want to lose to the best guy. You don't want to, I would always feel like I was weak.
Well, yeah.
I was chicken shit, and we wouldn't challenge this guy.
Well, listen, I agree with that. In many ways, I do agree with that. But when it depends what stage you're on, I guess, too. I agree. I don't disagree with that. But in this situation, there are a lot of different ways to pitch Bellinger. And like I said, I would have pitched everything down and away for Bellinger. He pulls off everything.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely.
And the worst thing, probably the worst thing that happens is it's a bloop. He hits a line drive into left field. That's the worst thing, in my opinion. But that pitch, when he threw that pitch, guys, I just already saw it. I know Bellinger was going to hit, was going to connect on that. And he was on everything. Recently, he's been pretty much his timing's been good, but he's so crazy. He swings like he's like he's never. It's almost like a guy that hasn't eaten in 2 weeks and he's trying to break the door down to some locked refrigerator. That's how hard he swings.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
There's another fallacy. I mean, the announcers last night, that pitch before was 97.
Yeah.
And they said, he's way behind it. He's way behind it. And I said, I was in a sports bar, and I said to the guy sitting next to me who I was chatting with, I said, if they throw another pitch that's a little bit more inside and up, I did say it. I swear to God, I said it. He's gonna kill it, and this game is gonna be tied. Bang. Guy looked at me like I was.
When he connected, he didn't. It was, you knew it. I mean, the announcers tried to make it. They tried to make it Anthony May style. Making everything. It's making it exciting, despite the fact that it's just a turtle race. Oh, it was gone.
I do have one thing to show all five of us. Yeah. Okay, there's two of me, right? All right. Let me get the base.
That's right. No, there's six of us.
All right.
1,
So
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This is why I love these shows, because I wouldn't have known about Jensen had it not been about our discussions, right? So here's a baseball, if you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Watch when he throws that fastball, and this is why it doesn't move. And I think it's done intentionally, and that's why he struck out all three guys last night. Is the two fingers are not, they're like this. Wait, can you see it?
Well, that's
like this. See, they're together.
Right.
The two fingers are actually together, and he's generating 12-6 spin on a fastball. I don't know if that's a four-seamer or a two-seamer, or maybe it's a one-seamer, because he only has the one finger on the seam.
That's a two-seamer grip.
But I'm thinking that because this middle finger, can you see it, is not on a seam, is why the spin rate is down.
Maybe.
But he's creating more 12-6 spin, which keeps the ball elevated
Jansen boxed
instead of on an angle.
He boxed on purpose to get people to get back. He didn't want to intentionally walk. He'll box on purpose. Okay, we'll get that guy. Now, okay, good. He does. He's a nut. But
if you guys watch the game, if he comes in, which he probably will,
I want to.
I just saw it and I was like, holy shit, maybe that's why it is. And then I actually had it recorded and then I watched it in slow motion, and I've never seen somebody throw a fastball that actually has 12-6 spin. Backspin.
That's wrong.
It's working. But that could explain why he's 2 miles an hour slower and why his spin rate's down.
Well,
he
he's
only
not
has one
slow.
finger on it.
He's not. He's 94, 95 last night, quite a bit. That's not
That's
slow.
true.
And
but there for a while he was 92, 93, but
to what I'm seeing, Kenley Jansen for the last month has been throwing all his strikes, guys, are up in the zone.
Yeah.
And we sit here and talk about it for the last 4 months to nauseum. That's the way to pitch in modern day baseball. All these guys, you listen to these announcers.
With the uppercut.
It was just under that. Well, the reason why they're under it is because of the launch angle. What do you think? That's why these guys are going upstairs. And Jansen has been able to dot corners much better and hit those borders of that, little box that they show you on the screen.
Yep.
So, you can live upstairs now because these guys are going to get underneath it because they're coming from their shoelaces up. And you say it all the time, John, there's only one point where you can hit that ball. And to fight, you got to be perfect to catch that ball the way these guys are swinging it. So he's throwing that fastball 3 different ways. Like you say, some straight, some cutter. He dropped that 80-mile-an-hour curve in there. But if you're going to live on that upper line of the box like he is, outside, up top, somewhere, what gets me is how these guys go down looking. They're looking for something other than 94-mile-an-hour fastballs. What are you looking for with this guy?
Well,
really,
if you're getting 100-mile-an-hour fastballs for the most part, listen, or 100-mile-an-hour, a guy's pitching 100 and 94, 96, 94, 95 with their sharp slider. You have to guess almost anyway. You don't have time to wait and see what it is. Where's the rotation at, et cetera, et cetera. You're guessing, right?
No, you're absolutely guessing. I mean, I don't know that they guess at 94. And they only saw in that whole pitch sequence to all those batters, he only threw one curveball.
Yeah, it was one.
Wondering to yourself, what are you looking for other than unless I don't know.
It was 80 feet. It was an 80-foot curveball too, or not an 80-foot. It was a 55-foot curveball.
The grip you have, John, is a 2-seam grip. That's typically they'll put it farther back in the 2-seam grip goes farther back in your hand, and it sinks. So who would throw?
That's a 2-seam grip.
That's correct. And
this is what he's throwing.
Well, that's still. I mean, yeah, he's not got his foot, but that's the placement of that ball. And if he's not putting it back farther in his hand, the thing is, you're trying to make it sink. The farther you put it back, the more movement it's supposed to have, right? Yes.
Yep.
And I don't want to throw a 2-seamer eye level because that is gonna. If it's gonna move at all, it's gonna come a little bit down to my sweet zone. See, so I don't know. I'd have to look, but I'll try to look. It's a lot to ask.
Just an observation. Well, I was on the Dodgers last night. I knew they had it all the way.
Yeah, I was on the over, but that was.
I think it's the highest money line play I have ever given to all access clients, and I just was like, I don't think I was actually sick because I did bet it in game and tweeted it at plus 230 at the end of the 6th, and figured, well, you're either gonna come back or you're not.
Yeah. Listen, I was on this. I was on one show when the Yankees fell down like when it was 6-7-1. I said, I know the Yankees can hit the baseball. That's one of those teams that if they're down early in a game and all of a sudden you've turned a 180, a minus 180 into a plus 300, I'm on.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yep. Real quick before we go to final bets, I know we're all super busy. We have Coastal Carolina playing App State tonight.
Yeah.
And my question to you guys, and then you can also add whatever you want, is App State's on a short week. Coastal Carolina is coming off a bye. Coastal Carolina is ranked. Why did that line open at 3.5 and now it's 5.5? Because my question is, this situation makes me want to be all over Appalachian State.
Well,
because it makes no sense.
If you looked at last week, they were bad. Now, is that a one-off? It might just be a one-off with App State because they were bad last week. And Coastal, I don't know any team that's played a more of a
easier schedule,
ice cream schedule than they have.
Yep, that's true. What do you think, Rob Vino?
I stayed away. I don't know what to think about Coastal. I don't know about you, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, if I go by power rating numbers, I had the game Coastal -1. It opened -3.5, so I thought it was high to start with.
Wow.
Those 3 teams in the Sun Belt to me are interchangeable, guys. Coastal, Appalachian, UL Lafayette. They're all interchangeable. They're the 3 best teams in the league. We saw it last week. On any given night, one could wreck the other because Appalachian traveled down there to Lafayette and just got their head handed to them. And now they're back at home. Yeah. And Coastal has to go up there, and we'll see. I mean, Chase Bryce had a shitty game, to say the least. He had played really well up until that point last week, the Clemson transfer for App State at quarterback. And their offense has been really, really good this year, App State, up until last week. I was kind of surprised at how easy it was for Lafayette to run on them. That generally doesn't happen. So, like Tony said, it could have been a one-off, that game last week. And they are, I don't know how short of a week it is. I'm trying to remember. Did they play that game on Tuesday or Wednesday night last week against Lafayette?
Tuesday.
Yeah. So it's Wednesday. So they've had more than a week to get ready for this. So they've had ample time as well.
Well, that's true, but Coastal coming off 2 weeks, right? Coastal didn't play. They're coming off the
Coastal
bye.
has a clear scheduling advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, again, yeah, if you consider that, I like to have a history on teams off a bye too. I mean, if they're Andy Reid then
Well, yeah, that's just the thing, Tony. I mean, that's
Right.
that's 2020, a clear scheduling advantage. The advantage is you've got to prepare 2 weeks. The
That's right.
disadvantage is, rest versus rust. What if they come out lousy in the first quarter? Then you say, oh, they're rusty.
Yeah.
They had 2 weeks off. Too
I
much time.
agree. I agree. Couldn't
You know,
agree
so
more.
that's – I get the preparation angle, yes.
Yeah.
You've got an advantage. You had 2 weeks to get ready for one of your main foes in that particular league, and I think they are divisional foes, Appalachian State and Coastal. So if you want to get to the Sun Belt Championship, you got to win tonight. I happen to think Coastal's a little bit better of a team.
They're disciplined.
But
They're disciplined.
that
And they're
place-
efficient.
Yeah, and that place is not easy to play in. I mean, teams go in there and just get wrecked. It's not an easy place to play.
I mean, they have a. I'm looking at my stuff now. Coastal Carolina's strength of schedule is about the weakest in the nation. On my ratios, it's 12. Appalachian State's schedule has been 30. I don't think I've ever seen a disparity like that in my entire life.
I mean, I think that's where this all comes in. Is because, like, when I made the line, I made it about 6, because Coastal Carolina has been so dominant, and Appalachian State, although they've been the power in the Sun Belt, the previous 4 years. Last year they fell off. This season they lost to Miami, and then they're coming off a brutal effort at Louisiana. I had them winning outright at Louisiana. They couldn't stop the run at all. Bryce looked terrible, and I mean, from the one-off standpoint, that is it could just be a situation where they had a bad night. But here's the way I look at it, because when I put my numbers, I try to put the fair line that said, I don't quite do the power rating thing. I do, all right, what's going to draw in the betting public? The conventional person that wants to bet this game on a standalone Wednesday night is going to look at this and say, well, look, Coastal Carolina is ranked. They've blown out everybody, and it's not going to really take into account that Kansas is their toughest opponent and Buffalo played them the best. They're going to say, oh, look, it's Grayson McCall, a guy that is being looked at as a NFL prospect, and it's a team that hasn't lost, I think they've lost 1 game in 2 years. Yeah. So, I looked at it that way, and then the number came down to 3.5, and I said, oh, well, that's interesting that Appalachian State is being bought the way they are, coming off that loss, and you instantly think it has to be the home field advantage, because the fact that Coastal, the one time they went on the road, they really struggled against a Bulls team that isn't as good as past Buffalo teams. So I think that's what the play is here. If you believe that Coastal Carolina is going to lose this game, play the first half, play the rust factor, play the fact that they haven't played anybody on the road. Ultimately, over the course of 60 minutes, based on what I've seen, they're a better team than Appalachian State. Can't trust Chase Bryce, and they've got a lot more to play for. They average 48.8 points per game, and that Appalachian State defense isn't that great. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is like you're counting on Appalachian State to be a team that they're not, or a team that they've been, based on these numbers. So, and then I gave it out as a free play, just because I really don't know where I fully stand on it, because 3.5 to 5.5 to 4.5, and I don't know where it's settled out now. It's probably around 5. It seems like there's been a ton of buyback.
Yeah, I thought I saw 4.5 earlier today, to be honest with you. Let's see. Actually, I have 3 right now.
And Appalachian State's going to sell out the joint. They drew 28,000 for the Marshall game.
It's 4 and 5, 4, 5.5
at Penny and Heritage.
It'll be a full house. The crowd will be a factor. It's a really interesting game.
It is.
Yeah, really interesting game.
My take on it?
Go ahead.
Let's hear it, Jesse. Let's hear it.
I'm still here, guys. Anyways, I'm inclined to agree with Tony, but I will add that when we're trashing Carolina for their strength of schedule, I don't know how many players they lost from last year. I know Grayson McCall's still there, and he's probably the most important player they got. And based on last year's schedule, upsetting BYU, upsetting a ranked Lafayette team, and scoring 34 points in an overtime loss in a bowl game against Liberty, that tends to make me feel comfortable that I'm not concerned about their strength of schedule so far. You play who's on your schedule.
That's
you
true.
win those games. So that's my addition to that.
Well, these guys, they can't. Most teams make a schedule. At least they used to. The thing I quit making any notes on, and that is a lot of times home and homes. All these schedules are made 3-4 years in advance.
Sure.
We don't know where. A lot of times they don't know where a team's going to be when they meet this team, and you happen to catch a schedule you thought was going to be pretty good 4 years from now, and that's so good. So.
Didn't they agree to play BYU
right.
last year?
Huh?
Like they scheduled that game against BYU on the fly, and
that was on the fly because of COVID. Yeah,
Yep.
COVID fly.
So
And,
another notch in their belt that they had the balls to do that, because at the time you were thinking,
Yep.
who do they play BYU?
no, I agree.
Yeah, and I think
And that was BYU trying to get. That was BYU trying to
Right.
enhance.
Yeah,
their
it
profile,
was.
and it blew up in
Yeah,
their face.
it wasn't the best situation for BYU. It was actually they
They run like 3 days rest or something. 4
right,
days
right.
rest.
They had to
tops.
travel, everything. So
Right.
yeah,
But I mean,
but Dave Roberts was coaching that night. BYU had no chance.
it's wild because Tony Finn is absolutely right. I mean, these schedules are made years in advance. Like,
Right.
there's agreements being signed right now for the late 2020s. And so, if you're Coastal Carolina, this rise has been meteoric. Like you had to be thrilled that you were getting a home and home with Kansas, and ironically, you're facing the coach
Yeah.
you thought you'd be facing at Buffalo with the Jayhawks coming to your house, and they had a whiteout for the Jayhawks this season. This is such a cartoonish cartoonish scenario. But on paper, if you watch Coastal Carolina play, they look like a real football team. I mean, I know Rob's seen them multiple times. They're diverse on offense. They run option. They're creative, and they blow teams out of the water.
No wasted motions at all. That team is well coached and very efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a tight end on that team, guys, by the name of Isaiah Likely, who's going to be maybe the first tight end off the board in the NFL draft. So
yes,
he's better than any wide receiver they have.
Yeah.
But they're balanced. And that Jamie Caldwell, or Chadwell, excuse me, the head coach of that team, and their play calling is really good. So it's a good match. Like I say, those three teams in the Sun Belt are clearly the last couple of years the cream of the crop. For Appalachian State and UL Lafayette, that's been an ongoing battle for the last 5 years. Yeah. Cream of the crop. So we'll see. It's a tough place to go into. And just looking at their schedule, I mean, East Carolina turns out to be halfway decent. App State beats them. They play Miami of Florida. They beat Marshall. And then they go and get their head handed to them by UL Lafayette. That's the one clunker in there. So we'll see if they repeat that or not.
Yep.
But I saw Jordan Alvarez go deep just now.
Who did?
Jordan Alvarez.
Oh, he did?
Over the Green Monster.
Was anybody on?
No, it was a solo, but Chris Sale was so unhappy he almost hit Kyle Tucker in the head.
I something about Alvarez that I don't know about that swing. It's just I don't know. But I will say this: I apologize, but I have about 1 minute till I'm supposed to be somewhere, which means I'm going to be at least 5-10 minutes late by the time I go.
Best bets.
Break up.
Yeah, give us something, Tony Finn. Come on, give us something to make money with.
Okay. Find my Quaaludes that I lost. I'll make these.
Can Cleveland win with Case Keenum? Tell us that.
No. Well, of course, anybody.
You don't have to. You have to get going.
Anything can happen. Yeah, I'm going to throw out a free pick, though. I'm going to do something before. I don't understand, and maybe you guys can help me. Let's take that back. It's moved a little bit, but quickly, points per yard, points per play, points per inch, points per foot, whatever. Navy's been, they like to they run at a pace where they would just as soon have a minute 40 game clock as a 40-second game clock. Cincinnati, there's some issues. Navy lost their, if I'm not mistaken, I think Navy's got some issues at quarterback, injuries. The kid left last week. And for the most part, Cincinnati's healthy. And I love the timing on this, right? What's the guy that covers the SC? Feinbaum, okay? Feinbaum came out and did a take saying, listen, Cincinnati, they got a ton of work to do before they can even be considered over SEC. Well, that's Feinbaum. We know what he's going to do. But here's the deal. Their schedule, they got SMU, really. They just got SMU. So if Feinbaum says that, and I'm a Cincinnati coach, I don't know the players, I don't have to put it on the bulletin board. It's there. It is Katie bar the effing door with Cincinnati. They're not going to try to win. They're going to win. And they're going to create style points in any way they can. And that means if it's 80-7, so be it. But I thought 26 is what I got this game at. It's on the road, so I thought I benefited probably about 7 or 8 points there alone. I think it's home. They're 34-point favorite. I like Cincinnati laying the wood against Navy, who's probably not going to have their starting quarterback, or a quarterback that's experienced in that triple option. And Cincinnati's going to do whatever they want. The matter is, can Cincinnati's defense, who I trust, stop this triple option enough they get enough possessions to win by margin? I say they do. How about you guys?
If it takes style points, Cincinnati will be traitors to our country and destroy the Naval Academy.
They certainly will be. They certainly will be.
That's funny.
Navy behind the woodshed.
That's funny.
So and they've been in that mindset for a few weeks now, because just think back to when they played Temple, and so many people, Temple was off a win, and there's just too many points, got to be on Temple, got to be on Temple, got to be on Temple. Yep. That game was on TV, and here's how well that game went for Temple. The first thing I saw on Twitter that night was Mid-Major Matt, who's Philadelphia everything, saying, why does Temple suck so bad? Just because Cincinnati wanted to beat the hell out of them, that's all. And Luke Fickell knows it.
Yes,
he knows that's what he's got to do.
I think they have a lot. Rob, you're right. They have a lot of responsibility. They not only have a responsibility to win, they have a responsibility to win as big as they can, because as soon as they break the old school, that old school mentality of the NCAA or whatever the selection committee is going to be for years down the line, they knock the shit out of that this year. It opens the door for other teams that aren't Power 5 conferences to be looked at a little more seriously. I would like to see Cincinnati. I'd love to see Cincinnati get in this. I really would.
And ironically, they're joining UCF, going to the Big 12 with Houston and BYU. Yeah. So they'll be Power 5 anyway. But no, you're right in terms of we're going to get expansion at some point mid-decade. It'll be 8 teams, and then we will see at least the best group of 5 is always going to be within that. And
I saw the guidelines on that.
I
saw the guidelines they had for that 12 or that 8, and they don't work for me. I mean, they're going to take conference champions. Well, listen, that means they have to pick the Pac-12 champion, and they might as well take the Mountain West champion. Let's take the Pac-12 champion.
They're going to try as hard as they can to keep Cincinnati out of this. That committee will. They'll try as hard as they can, which is why, like when they played Temple a few weeks ago, the thinking that I had was if you're Cincinnati, you can't win a game 27-17 anymore. That immediately drops you 4 spots in the rankings if you only beat somebody by 10 points that you're supposed to win by margin against. So, Desmond Ritter's been great. They've had the ability to score, and maybe they get there. I hope they do. And to Paul Feinbaum, real quick, wasn't that Georgia they almost beat in the bowl game last year?
Yes.
But anytime the SEC underperforms in bowl games, they didn't care.
Right. They didn't care about that game. Right. No, they didn't care.
Feinbaum.
Wow. No, that's a religion. And we've seen that.
I thought the Chicago White Sox had the biggest homer that was publicly known. Just ridiculous. Those kind of guys that are so biased or so shaded, I find them entertaining, if anything, but I certainly don't take them seriously.
Well, it's like everything that's over in mainstream media right now. You play to your base, and he caters to the 12 teams in the.
I'm going to check out with you, but I'll ask this question to you guys because I believe it wholeheartedly, and that is, do we realize what kind of influence that ESPN has on the point spread? They do.
Well, it's all correlated because check it out. Like, it's A, who's in prime time. B, in terms of basketball, it's TV timeouts. TV timeouts allow you you bet the under on a game on TV because
I want you guys to do this. I want you guys to put it on tape. I want somebody to spend. I want you to tell me how many times Notre Dame was mentioned on ESPN during certain hours during the week, and then we'll take those metrics and we'll give them to John. He can put them in his NRBQ system. Bam, we got money maker, baby. I got to go.
All right, Tony. Thanks a lot.
May all you find send me something for my birthday, and may it start with a lemon and end with 714. Bye.
So when's his birthday?
I don't know.
No.
I thought it was like I didn't think it was now, but maybe he's giving us a hint.
Right before best bets, because I got to go too. I pulled this up. I want to play a quick yes or no game. I promise you'll love this with everybody. Okay. Here are odds from an offshore. I won't name them, but people can use them. Will Ben Simmons play a game with the 76ers this season? Yes, plus 275. No, minus 450.
What?
Lay the 450.
Thoughts?
Agreed.
Wow. You don't think he's going to play the whole season?
I guess it doesn't care because are we allowed to mention offshores or no? In my previous company, we weren't, and I know Wager Talk.
You don't have to. I mean.
All right. Well, I won't mention, but these are real odds. They were.
Read that again. Was it any team or just the Sixers?
Will Ben Simmons play a game with the 76ers this season? Yes, plus 275. No, minus.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I thought it was with any team. So yeah, I agree with you guys.
Okay.
I say no.
Will Ben Simmons speak to Philadelphia media this month? Yes, plus 140. No, minus 180.
No, he's not.
There's only 10 days left.
No, minus 180. I agree.
He might use hand signals, though. Does that count?
It does not, I don't think. Speaking. Data first game Ben Simmons plays this season. November, minus 125. December, plus 200. October, plus 200. After New Year's, plus 250.
Isn't December 15th the day? They keep mentioning December 15th here in the Philadelphia area, so I would say he probably doesn't play as a trade time for him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rob. That is right.
I would say plus 200 in December.
Yeah, a lot of these, if you use your brain, you can make some money. And it's the same thing. When will Ben Simmons get traded after New Year's is actually minus 120. November's plus 125, December's plus 275, and this month is plus 300.
Tony, what's the relevance of the December 15th date? Because I hear it, but I don't understand why they're focused on that particular date. Is it got something to do with the league? Is that a trade deadline of sorts?
I believe that's when you can trade players that have been signed in the offseason by other teams. I think, unless there's something in his contract, because on that, I haven't heard the December 15th date, but I'm sure it's something to do with that. Maybe Ryan can look it up here. And I'll finish this off. There are only a couple more of these. Who will be traded first? This is very interesting in just how the odds are constituted. Ben Simmons minus 700, Kyrie Irving plus 400.
And what was the question again?
Who will be traded first?
Who will be traded first? And then they go off the rails here. Will Ben Simmons get into a fight with Joel Embiid? Yes, only plus 500. No, minus 900. Ben Simmons' free throw percentage this year over under 60.5. And what will be higher? This is a great one. What will be higher for Ben Simmons? Free throw percentage, minus 300. Season games played, plus 200.
Tone, send the link to those.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
All right, I got you. Just email me your emails in Slack.
Yeah.
Here's the NBA trade starts. So it's when the trading among teams is actually really picks up. And I'm trying to see here what. Rarely do we see many transactions so early in the season. When we do, they are usually minor signings and waivings of the final few players on the roster, yet even though those do not come about in bulk until after January 5th, when 10-day contracts become available, This season has seen more than its usual amount of significant trades going down in the period between the end of the main free agency period in January, including the Rudy Gay trade, the Gortat trade right before the season began. So it's I guess
this is what Bobby Marks says.
Trades become viable.
Yeah, Bobby Marks, a former GM, works for ESPN now. He says, an update on the challenges facing Philadelphia on the trade front with Ben Simmons. Keep in mind that 35% of NBA players cannot be traded today. That number will decrease starting December 15th.
And much better said than my my answer, that's for sure. So which one of those is your best bet for the show, Mr. Mejia?
I love that. What will be higher, free throw percentage or season games played, and you got to go free throw percentage.
You really
minus
do.
300.
So you actually think he's talented enough to make more free throw? So he does have a little bit of talent. Then
he'll make 45% of free throws. I at this point don't see him playing half the season. To me, this looks like it's gonna be a standoff, and Morey will have to trade him. I saw something, and I don't know who it was, which is good because I don't want to embarrass them. But they said, you know what? It was like a reputable columnist. What Joel Embiid needs to do is talk to Daryl Morey and tell him to trade Ben Simmons. Well, like shit, like that hasn't happened already. The point is you can't do that if you're Daryl Morey. Okay, Joel. Okay, Joel. Thanks for the input.
Yeah, let me talk to the Lakers GM LeBron, and we'll see what we can do. Ay.
Even when he gets traded, there's no guarantee that he's going to fit in like a glove with his new team anyways. I mean, he's the type of guy that could go land somewhere else and get in the same kind of trouble and demand another trade.
No, that's true. He's really damaged his rep. Is it true? I'm sure you guys have heard since you guys are up there that he went to the strip club after being thrown out of practice?
You know what? They reported that, but then a guy who actually was in that strip club at that time said it didn't happen. I was in there, so I didn't see him in the place. So I don't think it happened.
Oh, God, I love that the NBA's back.
The place is called Delilah's.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I don't think Simmons would have gone in there. That would have gone viral.
And do they have the lemon pepper wings there? Is that what?
I will never go there, but it's just not my cup of tea. But I can tell you that's probably, Rob, don't you think that's one of the biggest places for that kind of stuff in the whole city?
Yeah, now I've never been there, but I know yesterday. I have
no desire.
On a Philadelphia live call-in show, a guy called in and said, Simmons was reporting Simmons went to Delilah's. And then another guy who was supposed to be at work called in and said, listen, I was supposed to be back to work 10 minutes ago. I've been in here since 11 o'clock. Ben Simmons hasn't come in. So you got to love the people of Philadelphia to be
my God.
The guy's waiting at Delilah's for Ben Simmons to show up.
There is an article that appears, it's on my Microsoft News, custom homepage or whatever you want to call it. And it's by Ian Castleberry. I don't know the name. But I kind of was intrigued by the article because it actually is putting focus on the front office for having all this time to get something done, and they didn't. And it's coming out a little bit, and I kind of want to hear the good side of this Simmons story instead of the bad. That all Simmons wanted was a fresh start. That it had run its course in Philly. Apparently he did get death threats. And nobody should ever get that when you struggle in a game, and that affected his last couple games. I mean, some people take those threats as it's just a drunk. No, some people maybe take it really seriously, and I can't. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. If that is true, and he was really concerned that something was going to happen during a game,
but when you're under,
I wouldn't play so well either.
Period.
What's that?
I said when you're under contract, it comes off as petulant, period.
Right.
Yeah, because James Harden wanted out of Houston in the worst way, but he showed up for games. Yes, he was overweight, but he played games, put up decent. It's all Ben had to do, really. But, I think the bottom line to it is maybe, and he could have just asked for a clean slate, but here's the deal. Once those playoffs were over, Daryl Morey was going to hold out for a real good trade offer, and they weren't going to come after people watched those playoffs. So his leverage went straight down, and Ben could maybe all he wanted was a clean slate, but the GM has to look for the best return on that trade, and he wasn't getting what he thought his piece was worth, and he's not going to get what he thinks his piece is worth. So at some point, they just have to lower their demands and let this guy go for whatever. And at this point, again, the trade that came up 2.5 weeks ago, Brogdon, was it Brogdon, LeVert, and a first? They should have taken that at that point in time. Joel you put those pieces around Joel, and he'll do just as well. They'll lose something on the defensive end, and what Ben does is unicorn style. He's very good at the things he does well. But they got to get something like that.
When was there was a rumored trade that, and apparently this writer is saying that this is where it really started to go into a tailspin, was when Harden was supposed to come to Philly, Simmons to the Rockets. And apparently that is when this whole, I need a fresh start. If you're going to trade me, then trade me. I guess he was shocked at the possibility that he was going to be moving from Philly. And if that's true, that kind of sheds new light on it. Because I don't know the date of that when that was, but it's again, this article comes down pretty hard in the front office that they knew this for a while and just never got it done. And it was known way before he couldn't hit a free throw in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, what should have been known by the front office way ahead of time, forget all that, is that they weren't going to get what they thought he was worth. They should have known that as soon as the playoffs ended. You know what? There's no Damian Lillard. All that stuff was pipe dreams for a superstar in return for him.
But right after the Harden trade, something like that could have been followed up and attempted.
Yes. Before he didn't take that dunk in the fourth quarter with 15 because he was afraid to get fouled. Until that point, it was still viable. But after that, GMs watch the games too, and they don't want. Houston might be the worst place of all to send them now. At one point, I thought maybe a John Wall, Ben Simmons, and other things involved might work, but you want to send him down there with all those 19 and 20-year-old kids that are playing in the starting lineup and put Ben Simmons in there? That's a nightmare.
I thought Denver would be a good fit, but we can talk about that tomorrow. But so you're betting over free throw percentage versus games for the free pick on the show.
It's starting to look like this is going to be a long haul situation. He's suspended for one game, but when will we actually see him? Especially since he's been away from the team, and the rift is what it is, to the point where, look, when I honestly had to, as I'm scrolling and getting all my info for all these sports that are going on at the same time, I had to double check that was actually ESPN where I was reading it, that the Ben Simmons quote about Joel Embiid being accurate. You could see if they didn't cater to Joel the way they do, I could be a lot more effective. Like, wow, he actually said that. That's crazy. You never see that. So the rift between those two has to be enormous. And in a tug of war, power struggle, Embiid's going to win that 10 out of 10 times. So, I mean, it's going to come to a point where Morey's just got to make a decision. But again, he's got to stand firm. I mean, at this point, nobody's going to give you much for him. You have to wait out 25 games worth of somebody else's problems before either Portland or Sacramento or something breaks on some other team, and then you can try to get fair value.
Yeah, it takes a lot of nerve for Simmons to say something like that about Embiid, because if you go back to when Brett Brown was there, in my estimation, Joel sacrificed a lot more to accommodate Ben. How often was he hanging out at the three-point line so that Ben could operate down low? I mean, they sacrificed Embiid's game to try and fit Ben Simmons in. So for him to say that they cater to Embiid is, he's just he's a 26-year-old child is what he is. He just, like Jesse said, I don't know that he works anywhere anyway. If he goes somewhere else, who's to say this doesn't happen all over again? Because he doesn't like the conditions.
The Jimmy Butler angle, where like now that they're throwing him under the bus, saying that Simmons is the one who wanted Butler there. I mean,
somebody brought that up yesterday, and just to play rewind, and you can't do 2020, but what if they had hung on to Jimmy and gotten rid of Ben at that time? How much better would they be today with Jimmy Butler on that team still?
Yep. Well, I mean, shoot, Jimmy Butler is on that team last year. They come out of the East. They're better than the Bucks.
I think you're right.
I think you're right, too. All right, let's go to Jesse Scholl for his show Best Bet.
All right. Well, yesterday, John, we talked about that NBA matchup between the Lakers and the Warriors and that interesting angle where the Lakers had lost all their preseason games and the Warriors had won all their preseason games, and how that might be a potential contrarian kind of way to look at it. But that didn't work out. Of course, the Lakers lost. Tonight, I am looking at a similar setup between the Blazers and the Sacramento Kings. The Kings won all their preseason games. The Blazers lost all theirs. They faced each other head-to-head in the preseason. The Kings won. Now the Blazers are a 6.5 point favorite at home tonight. They haven't performed well as a home favorite. Let me look at the numbers there. The Blazers are 3-8 against the spread in their last 11 as a home favorite. And we got the Kings 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 as an underdog. I'll take the points with Sacramento Kings.
I like it.
Too.
Yep.
I got to run because this computer is going to break out. I will just say, I'll be around tomorrow because I believe we're doing another NBA show. Yeah, Rob, you're going to do that NBA show too. So yeah, I will be set up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Take care, Tom.
Find out if they want my NBA angle today or not.
I think,
we can do that.
I think that
I won't be offended if they don't, but I'd like to.
I think that's up to I'll email you. I'll text you.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, bye.
Okay, see you. Rob Vino, you're up next.
Well, I'll go.
Actually, it's me.
Oh, you want to go?
Yeah, because you're the anchor.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go Boston Celtics tonight. And I got some notes here on the line movement. We have lined open with the Knicks installed as a 1-point home favorite. Immediately saw money coming in, making them a 2-point favorite. I actually do not know where they are now, but we can quickly check that. Go to the Wager Talk odds page, which is not on my thing, but
I got it for you, John. It looks like Knicks -2, just about universal.
Okay. And I did this. I wrote these notes down earlier. The early action backing the Knicks is likely to push it to 2.5, and it may have, and may even with some steam get to 3.5. So I recommended playing 50% of your 4% bet amount at 2 points, +2 with Boston, and then add 25% more at 2.5. If it doesn't go any higher, then you add the other 50% pre-flop before the game starts. So one of the things that stuck out was the Celtics star Jaylen Brown is probable for tonight's game. I don't see anything that says that he's not playing tonight, and he's coming out of the quarantine, so you would think that he's in. Al Horford is not going to play. He's still in the quarantine, but his best years are many years behind him, so I don't see that being a factor. And I think the market is missing the target because New York had that beautiful run last year, and I think they're making them a little bit better than they are. I think Boston, with the changes in the head coach and the former head coach moving to the front office, I think that's being overlooked, and if anything, is viewed as a negative. So I actually see Boston winning this game pretty comfortably and possibly by double digits. So I'm taking the Boston Celtics.
Very nice.
And now it's your turn, Rob.
That was a season over-under win play that Ski Profit talked me into. I was on a show with him last week, and he really likes the Celtics this year. So much so that he took a shot with them to win the Eastern Conference, thinking that there might be some problems in Philadelphia and maybe Milwaukee doesn't do what they did last year. I mean, it's obviously a longer shot, but it's something he really likes. So Celtics. You know what? I'll stick in the NBA, guys, and I'm going to play Utah and Oklahoma City over. The number's 113 for the first half here. OKC is one of those teams they're kind of like Houston in the fact that it's a complete rebuild with young guys, and they want to play extremely fast. They ended the season that way, playing really fast. Problem was that generally the last 20 games they had maybe 3 to 4 guys not even playing because they were trying to tank for that number 1 pick. But now everybody, they stick Josh Giddey in at the point guard, their number 1 pick overall. Pokashevsky looks like he's going to be a really good offensive player as well. But I think the pace of this game with Utah will be up and down. Utah can score on anybody. We see that consistently year in and year out. Their scoring's no problem for them. Oklahoma City is still not the best on the defensive side. But I think the speed and the youth, first half at least, probably gets their share of points. Maybe the full game as well. I think Oklahoma City might be a good overplay because of fast offense and not so great defense for the entire season. But here, 113 in the NBA nowadays just looks a little small. So we'll play up and over. Opening night, 113, Oklahoma City and Utah. You got to try and get to these things quicker because once people recognize that Oklahoma City is going to be a extreme tempo team, this number will be 117 and a half 3 weeks from now. So we'll try and take advantage of it early, 113 over.
And I wanted to comment on Max on record. He says good sale or bad. I didn't know where. I thought he was talking about the trade with Ben Simmons going to another team, whether it would be good or bad.
Chris,
I'm just kidding. I don't know. He just gave up a home run, so maybe I guess it's a bad sale right now. I don't know. There's a lot of sailboats in the Boston Harbor, so I mean maybe this is a good thing. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at the handicapping side, But I don't know what to think about this game with Boston. I've been watching it in-game, wanting to take Boston on the in-game line, but it's still 1-0, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Is Chaz McCormick playing? He should be, I guess, yeah. Hey, he went 3 for 4 the first time he faced Sale. His first ALCS game in his life. And he goes 3 for 4, batting 8th. All singles.
Well,
anyway.
I didn't see his at-bat, but he's probably in there. Valdez is on the mound right now.
Valdez, lefty?
Yeah, he's throwing to the Red Sox are hitting right now. So it's a bottom. I think bottom of 3 or bottom of 2.
Yeah, unless Myers is back. I didn't know the status, to be honest with you. But we can find out on TV for our own benefit. So for our picks tonight, we have Tony Finn with Cincinnati destroying Navy over, and this is the best one of all time, over free throw percentage for Ben Simmons. I can't believe I'm saying that, over anything with free throw percentage in that name, versus games played for the regular season. And what was that, plus like 120, did he say?
Oh God! You know what? He's supposed to send that link.
Yeah. We'll get it off that. Yeah, we'll get it off that sheet.
We'll get it. Yep.
Then we have the Sacramento Kings, plus 6.5 from Jesse Scholl. Boston Celtics from me, plus 2. Utah and Oklahoma City over 113 for the first half. And out of all the plays, I actually that Utah OKC I think is really, really strong. Because Utah they're gonna shoot 86 to 90 plus shot attempts. OKC's gonna try to play even faster. It's opening night in Utah. I definitely like that one. I see that going over pretty easily.
Well,
you would think.
It does.
Yeah, you would think. So tomorrow on Sports Memo TV, we have the NFL show. We did the college football show, and we're each week the number of viewers goes up quite a bit, and we're very happy about that, and appreciate all the extra people that are actually taking advantage of it. We're 31-10 on that show, college football and NFL combined, and I think that probably is the reason why our numbers are going up too. But all of us have good streaks going with our premium clients, so it's a good time right now. Rob, what do you have going on over Wager Talk before I let everybody go?
Well, yesterday I was the $2 Tuesday guy because NBA is starting. I mean, they promoted me hard for the NBA because of the back-to-back number ones at Wager Talk. The game actually goes tonight. The play I submitted yesterday for $2 Tuesday was a Wednesday night play because there were only 2 games on the card. So you still have time to get in if you want. As for tonight, John, I'm involved in another NBA game, and I'm involved in that Braves-Dodgers game tonight. Both of those plays are up and available at wagertalk.com. There's an early Sunday NFL best bet that I put up Monday. And generally I don't do that, but just something I saw right away that didn't make sense. So 4% best bet for NFL. So there's really something from every sport you want up there right now at wagertalk.com.
Very good. How about you, Jesse, here at Sports Memo?
Well, I already started the day off with the Champions League game, and I had the over in Manchester United and Atalanta. It was a 3-2 game, so that went way over. But I've still got the football game tonight, and I might have gave away my play here on this show. So, but I also have an NBA game in the Eastern Conference that's worth looking at.
Very good. Very good. And I have my stuff over at Sports Memo. I'm actually putting out hockey, and that's going pretty decent. I did lose with the Chicago Blackhawks last night. You know, I got to stop playing these home terrible teams, even when they're playing a terrible team. They lost to the Islanders 4-1, but I did have the Warriors. And, that never doubter LA Dodgers. I promise I will never, ever do money line at minus 175 and tell my clients that Wheeler was going to pitch 7 and get more than 5.5 strikeouts. That was a bet that was a show bet yesterday that we lost. But we're 61.7% over 142 plays, I think, now in our shows on this show. ROI is 30. Well, it's right there on YouTube here, but the ROI I think is 32.5%. So. That's nothing to sneeze at, right? Man, it's not even allergy season. It's just a lot of fun. Anyway, that'll conclude today's... What's that, Rob?
No, that's a real good run from a lot of guys, John. You run a lot of guys in and out of here on this show, so, to everybody who's contributed to that number, that's a good number.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's all free. It's incredible. Anyway, for... on behalf of Rob Vino, Jesse Scholl, Dr. Chuck, who popped in and out. We don't know what his free pick was, but I think it was something along the line since he's a pharmacist to go get vaccinated, maybe. I don't know. I think that was laying plus 120. Tony Mejia with the greatest bet this show has ever seen on Ben Simmons versus the number of games versus free throw percentage. I will never forget that, and that's going to be talked about when the season's at the end. And sportsmemo.com, print your playbook. And as always, may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching.